Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. I can see that you're all in the chat, and I can chat along with you tonight. I've got my setup all sorted. I went through StreamYard to make it easier for Joe. Joe's not had the best week. Her washing machine's broke. Her laptop's falling apart. And obviously, she's had all them trouble with the dogs. But yeah, we're feeling it as well, aren't we, Mark? It's a bit of an egg and chip week for us and all. But yeah. Right, so we've just done the premiere, and no, don't make a noise. That's my laptop now, enforcing me to watch adverts on my own content. That's what that is. So I'm just going to say hi to everyone that's in while I'm here. So of course we've got Jojo and Kiz and Mike and Nelly. There are my admins. We've got Dave Davis, Margaret, Bob, Elaine's in, Og, Lorraine Harper's in. I keep going. My Slice, Sober Carper, Stockholm Pearls. I have Pearls. And Paul. Paul was just telling us about an experience he had on the farm where we were talking about things just going deathly silent in the woods. And that's normally a sign that there's a large predator around. Hi, farm. Let me just pop you up there so everyone can see. He's in from, I think that's North Carolina. Yeah. USA. That's where my friend Jeremiah is from, North Carolina. He saw a large Bigfoot that was walking. He was out with his stepson, and they were out, and he saw it stand next to like an old trestle, a train trestle, and it was incredibly tall, about 8 feet tall. And they went back a couple of days later so that they could get a size comparison against the sign, and there was an alligator that had been picked up and placed underneath the trestle, and it had large. Do you remember the pictures, Matt, when I showed him? It had large bark covering it up, and it had a bite out of it. Yeah, like the middle, like something had picked it up and took an actual bite out the middle of it. But I know he moved. He doesn't live there anymore. But our subject tonight is one that's close to my heart because people always say to me, "Well, if you do Bigfoot reports and paranormal, why do you take accounts where people don't see anything?" Because sometimes they're more frightening. If you can see what it is that's shadowing you, you know, or you can see what it is that's chasing you through the woods, that's frightening. But when you can't see it and it's still keeping up with you, or it's, you know, in the bushes at the side of you and it's shadowing you, I think that's much scarier because your brain's, as a human being, your brain's made to try and work out what that situation is, right? So what's going on, you know, so you think like sheep, cow, dog walker, anything you can think of that'd explain it away. But when that thing's 8 foot tall and it's crashing through and ripping off limbs and everything, you know, that's clearly not a dog or a rowdy sheep or something like that. Hiya, Roger. So when I take those reports, I like to take them because we need to know what's happening in an area. So like Rendlesham, for instance, there's a case came up recently. And it was a chap who was geocaching in Rendlesham Forest, and he's leaving the geocache where if anyone's ever been there, there's like a triangular monument that's there for the crash that happened. And in the centre of that monument, you've got like a cheesy UFO statue. Let's be honest, not the best, is it? But it's around that area where these experiences happen. So over the past, say, 15 years, there's been 5 people who've made a report just this month because I released one at Rendlesham Forest. So I did originally have a report there, and it was of a light being. So a lady and a man who were up there with their friend, and they saw something running that looked like it was made of light. It was like a 2D shape, a stick figure that ran through the trees. And there's an earlier report from the newspapers of a lady out with her son who saw what she described as a Rendlesham bear moving off into the woodland. So they were the only accounts that I knew of in that area. Thank you, kids. That's really kind of you. Really is. Joe's just asking me if that thing, let me see if I can pull it up, is the monument where the actual UFO crashed. I don't know, Joe. I really, really don't know. But did you notice the circular thing next to it? That's what I noticed when you go on Google Earth. If you go into the statue, there's actually a circular thing in the trees where the trees are not growing.
Little bit in it.
Yeah, what would you call it, Mark?
It's like something's it there.
Yeah, something's landed in that circle. But I'm sure there's somebody who knows. I mean, I know people from Rendlesham. I can ask them. Miles might know, actually. So the chap who got in touch with me was called Miles. And like I say, he saw what he described as this really tall figure that kind of hid in the trees. And then in 2008, we've got another couple and they're walking through and they see a similar thing. And each and every one of them speaks about, let me see if I can get my map up so I can do it better here. Each and every one of them speak about this overwhelming feeling of dread that just comes on them really quickly. So Lorraine's saying she met Larry Warren a couple of times and he's still not recovered from when that UFO thing was in the woods. I've watched the case, obviously, because it's a fascinating case, isn't it? And then obviously with Mark having a UFO experience, at the time you're trying to soak up anything you can to get information. So I find it absolutely fascinating. Sorry, I'm just having There's got to be trauma with it, hasn't there? You know, I mean, even it must be hard to put yourself in his shoes, but try and put yourself in his shoes, you know, when they're experiencing this is happening and it's coming over the radio and you're seeing it, but the government's telling you you've not seen it and you're absolutely loopy, and the MIB and all of that get involved, don't they? Something about that area. Well, I wondered, the same as Joe, is there something particular about that area there? Is that why they crashed? Is that why they were in the area? Maybe, you know. So we've got a geocacher who sees a tall man-like figure. Then in the 1980s, you've got the Rendlesham Bear. You've got Leiston's devil dog statue. So we put that in because it's also within that area. So they actually dug up this really strange hound. I'll read it out in a second for you. Then in 2016, we've got the Rendlesham stick being. We've got the Rendlesham Forest elementals, the demon and red-eyed dogs. And then we got 3 cases, an overwhelming sense of being watched. In fact, I thought I'd mixed 2 up because one's 2008 and one's 2022. And I thought, I've typed them out the same. And I hadn't. It was just that the titles were the same. Both people had an overwhelming feeling of dread in that area. And then there was another person who said they had feelings of being watched and they saw shadow beings within the woods. So as Dave Davis is telling us now in chat, if Larry Warren is correct, the US government have exactly what happened on stills and film. I mean, it's just, for me, it's as big as Roswell, isn't it? I'm just going back in the chat. Yeah, there's a chap called Alec Lovelock, and he's been going there for a long time. He's been posting some of his finds in the BBR Facebook group. So if you want to see them, pop over to Facebook and just, if you can't get in, send me a friend request. It's just we keep it private so that people can share. And I'll tell you about a case that's come in this week more towards the end. So I'm just going to go to Rendlesham on my map now so I can get a good look at them. I want to look at the devil dog one again. Where's that one coming? Leiston. So Leiston is just up the coast, isn't it? Not by far. Just off the edge of the military defence land. It says in 1961 edition of Country Life magazine, James Wentworth Day gave a second-hand account of a beast in Leiston that had been told about. The Lady Walsingham often told me that she and Lady Rendlesham waited up in Leiston churchyard one night to see the galley trot, and that's their version of a shuck. They saw it. It was a huge black dog with glowing eyes, and it loped off up the road noiselessly. It slept in the churchyard wall and vanished among the gravestones. And there's an early account, actually, 1954, that I found from a local, and it says, one night, at least in Suffolk on the coast, where the dog is known as the galley trot, at 12 precisely, a slinking sable shadow slipped among the graveyards like a wraith. I mean, I don't know who wrote that one. John Rendlesham wrote that. He's a bit flowery, isn't he? Yeah. Galley trots are magical dogs believed to live in hollow hills or fairy hollows. I mean, for me, that's a shock. And I wondered if the Rendlesham bear that we're seeing is also some form of shock, because nobody's spoke about a creature up on 2 legs at any point yet for Rendlesham, and I say yet. But I've got accounts around it So not just in the Rendlesham area, you've got accounts further out. So we've got an account from a wild camper who experienced something out in the lanes there. And then we mustn't forget that this is the original area for one of the oldest woodwose cases in the UK. And that was the Wild Man of Orford. And I'm not sure if you guys know it. I presume that everybody knew it because it was to do with not Rendlesham, Yellowham Forest and the whole thing. But no, apparently people don't. So it took place in 1167. Let me just, I don't want to go over for the thing. I got to get it right. Basically, he was pulled from the sea in a net. So a bit like Zano, they pull this creature up in the net and he's covered in hair. And they give him to the local baron or whatever, whoever owned the land at the time. And he was brought to land and he was imprisoned in Bartholomew's recently built castle, where he happily accepted raw food, which he would squeeze the juice from before eating. Fish was his favourite meal, and he preferred to drink the liquid he drained from the fish rather than water. He couldn't use a cup. Determined to hear his story, the poor wildman was brutally tortured. His silence presumed to be an obstinate refusal to divulge his secrets. He probably couldn't speak. Realising that torture was bearing no fruit, the wildman was eventually allowed to exercise in the sea, held in a particular area by 3 rows of strong nets, which were placed across the harbour. So, like, all of the gentry would come down and watch this, like, you know, entertainment kind of thing. With ease, the wildman dived beneath the nets and then appeared up behind them. But to everyone's surprise, he came back in. And as time went on, the guards grew less vigilant, you know. And one day he did. He went under their nets and he never came back. But yeah, the Wild Man of Orford. So that part of the coast has always had this weird connotation, you know. Joe's just put I'll put it up there for you guys so you can see it. Let me just keep skimming the chat so I don't miss anyone. So yeah, in this area I've got, I'm going to count them all now. So we just do Rendlesham as it is. No more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got 7 accounts in this one forest. Rendlesham Forest, elementals, demons, and red-eyed dogs. Now, that was an investigation that Brenda Blessed, I might get it wrong. The forest has far more secrets hidden within it than people realise. She said, I have independent reports of a 2D figure made of light running through the forest and a strange account of the Rendlesham bear. And then there was a chap called Chris Wilcox, took a photo and he got a photograph of this weird shadow being, like really looming, big tall looming thing. And you often hear about that in cases where we've got this shadowing thing where people are not seen. But the 3 that stood out to me the most, the 4 that stood out to me the most are the ones around that statue, because obviously it's such a small area, you know. And I'm thinking, right, well, it's someone playing a prank and everybody's seen it at the same time, but it's stretched out over 20 years. So there's something going on, isn't there? There's some people are seeing something. I noticed there's a church there as well, St. John the Baptist. Now, normally in areas like that, you'll get dogman reports and something to do with burial ground. I'm not really sure what it is, but they pop up all of the time. But yeah, just around that one statue there, we've got a 2008 report, 2016 report, ongoing, because I know Phil Cobchell got a strange orb photograph from Rendlesham just last week, so I might be able to bring you a few up. But there's a couple that have joined in the YouTube into the BBR group. So on the 11th of April, so that's only this year, Zoltan said there are certain parts of the forest that feel really strange. We had a very odd experience there once with a chap that seemingly just appeared, almost from nowhere, and just vanished again in front of us with no trace. So that's not something flesh and blood. I wonder if that ties in any way to the light being. Is this something that's showing in a way that you would recognise it? You know, I am there. Andy's going to be at Rendlesham in a couple of weeks. You pop the date up in the chat, Andy, and I'll put it up on screen for everybody. I would love to come down and join you, but it's just too far for me. I can't do the drive yet. But if you want, I'll send you these accounts over, and you can have a look at the area for me. You know, I'll be able to put you in touch with the witnesses. Actually, we might meet you when you're down there. So only 3 weeks' time. So if anyone's interested in going out to meet Andy, yeah, 3 weeks' time, he'll be in Rendlesham Forest. I'd love to have a walk around there, see what it's like, to be honest. It's a good area, isn't it? You've got everything we're looking for. I mean, obviously, and we're on that Ministry of Defence land. You just go south a little bit and go on to what they call the Suffolk, the coast and heaths, the area of I can never get it right. AR, area of natural beauty. Yeah, there's some reports down there as well, towards the Boyton area along the coast. But I wanted to look. I thought, right, I've got my map out. Let's look at some random cases. Hi, Tanya. Look at some random cases where people have reported that feeling of being watched. So I know we've got some in Scotland. So I thought what I'll do is do Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales. We'll do it that way and then see how far we get. Right, let's do a Scotland one. Start up north. Because I've took a number of reports. I need to get near the Abernathy Forest. Let me get it. There we go. No, Deborah, that's the wrong one. Just bear with me a minute. I've got that many bloody reports in Scotland. Right, what's that one? Cleveland. It felt like the forest was watching me. Right. My experience happened in the Scottish Highlands a number of years ago now. As I said in the message, I didn't actually see anything. I just have a feeling of being watched constantly and a nagging urge to leave the place. Yeah. I was on what seemed like a logging road next to the pine forest. I was walking alone. I'd had an argument with my husband and I was in a really bad mood. I wasn't overly afraid, but I just had this sense that there was something watching me in that forest. I remember having a feeling of the forest being out of bounds and that I shouldn't be there and I should leave. So I turned around and I went out. We were staying at some cabins near Durham called the Birch Brae Cottages that backed onto the forest, which led up to the mountains. Stunning place. I'd love to go back. However, we were visiting from Australia. And now, you know, I don't think we'll be travelling that way again. But I think we've all had, I picked this area because there's a number of them in it. I think we've all had this feeling at some point when we've been walking the dog, you know, or we've been out. So in this area, you've also got a number of reports of giants on Ben Nevis. What's this one? Let me get that one. Terrifying screams that were recorded by a BBC crew in 2015. There's another one here, just one sec. Right, so I'm just going to put feeling of dreading. See what comes up. A horrible feeling of dread. There we go. Right, this comes from Simon Linford. I have an experience that happened near Ashdown Forest. I used to work for Parcel Force back then, out of the Red Hill Depot. We just got a contract with Barclays Bank, delivering stationery and paperwork. My route used to start in Uckfield and ended down in Eastbourne. I'd have a 5 a.m. start. This was in the winter time, so it was dark out. I was driving along the A22. I'd just gone through Forest Row. I was driving uphill, and it was a heavily wooded area. And for no reason at all, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I felt like I was being watched. And from nowhere, the thought pops into my head, I really don't want to break down here. And once I got past the wooded area, the feeling stopped. I'd driven this route 20 plus times before, and I never had that feeling, nor ever again after that one incident. I don't scare easily, but I've never been able to forget it. And at the time, I would have been 20, 21. And although I had plenty of strange experiences in childhood, I'm pretty sceptical and usually would just explain them away. But this one, I can't explain away. They're all chatting in chat, so I'm just going to keep going and leave them chatting to it.
That's the way.
So let's go for the nearest one next to that. That's my next one. I think this is one of the new ones. Right. About 2 miles away from that incident, we've got this one in 2019. My wife and I had a strange experience on the 23rd of April, 2019, so this time of year. We were walking in a wooded area known as the Ridge, a mile from Lidcup on the Hampshire West Sussex border with our 2 dogs. It was about 7:30 at night, and we heard 2 loud wood knocks close by to us. There was no one around anywhere that we could see, and our dogs did not react to the noise. But within 5 minutes, they were running through the undergrowth frantically, as if they were trying to push something out of there. And that's completely out of character for our dogs, as they're usually obedient. But it took us a while to get them to come to us. We heard or saw nothing else during the walk. We went back there the next day. Didn't see anything either. He said, I know owls call during the daytime, but this just continued following us around up a 200-yard incline. So people must be reporting stuff in that area, because there's another one here. 4th of July, 2022, same area on Lidcup again. Hi, Deborah. I thought I'd connect with you about a possible Bigfoot encounter that happened just yesterday on the 4th of July, 2022 in the afternoon. My girlfriend and I completed a hike in Lidcup and Liss. About 4:30 p.m, we had ascended a sandy track in the Longmoor Military Defence Training Ground to a viewpoint surrounded by gorse. The path we were on descended to what was a former military railway track. And at that point, my girlfriend was playing on the low bough of a tree. He said he needed to use the toilet. A minute later, I returned, and as I met my girlfriend, I distinctly heard wood knocks. The knocks came from further up the path, about 150 metres away from us. There was some sort of tall pine trees, and he said, at that moment, no more than 30 seconds after I heard those tree knocks, I heard a single knock from the left. And there was a large open valley, but we couldn't see anything. She said, my girlfriend said when she heard the knock, she said it sounded like it echoed. And all of this is happening on that little piece of military defence land. And, you know, we've been through this before, haven't we? With military defence land, we often get reports on them of strange creatures. No one's on them at night. No one's on them really in the day, are there? But most of them, if they're not used now, they're just like nature reserves and stuff like that. But there's a lot of them where you can't go on them because there's still incendiaries and they do training on them and stuff like that. The one at Holcombe up here where we are, the soldier who saw what he described as a wild man run up Holcombe Hill said it was about 7.5 feet tall and completely hair covered. Well, that's what I saw. And you can get from my area to Holcombe Hill if you just follow it's actually where the River Ouse starts from. So it's the source of the Irwell. So if you followed that Irwell Valley, you could get from there to where I had my experience. All right, let's pop over to Ireland and see what we've got in Ireland. 1 second. Right. This one is County Clare. I live in Durham in County Clare. Lots of activity there. There are also orbs, strange owls and structures. After my last encounter there, I haven't gone back at night. I felt a strong sense of a female entity or a shapeshifter. It was hard to describe. But I had to leave the area, and I haven't hiked there at night or sundown since. Now, this comes from an area where we have, just let me make it bigger, you can see now, 2 Irish Bigfoot reports, tall, upright, hairy giants. Let's see if I can get one of you. Ballingworth Ward, they called it the Bear Man. 2 people walking home after leaving the station heard groaning coming from over the wall. One climbed up to have a look and observed a creature with a man's body that had the head of a bear. The witness tried to speak to the strange creature, but it told him, don't speak to me, before wandering off. So I don't know which one that was. Hi, Smoker. Welcome to the chat. So where we not done Wales, have we? Let's have a look in Wales. Kane's moved from, I don't know if you know Case, he's moved to Wales with Jacka. He absolutely loves it there, so I'm not shocked that he's moved. But he messaged me this week. A bit of a catch up. Right, let's have a see. There's so many reports now, it's hard to just quickly grab the ones you want. Let me have a look. No, I'm not finding a feeling of dread in Wales. Give me a second. Oh, what's that one? Hi, Debbie. I've just watched the Bigfoot programme on Sky History, and it's the only thing that would explain what my husband saw in 1983. And I cannot say this. So I'm going to type it into the chat. Oh, 1 second. I've done that one wrong. Right, how do you spell this one? G-W-A-E-N. Yeah, I'm hoping Mark's in the chat. I only know how to say fast and good day in Welsh. I'm not very good Welsh. G-W-A-E-N. I want to summon a demon here, you know, innit? Y-S.
Stay there.
So if there's anybody in the chat that can tell me what that says, I'd be highly grateful. There we go. So in a Welsh area that I can't say, in 1993, it's a village near Prestatyn where my wonderful husband chose his horse and rode it for the first time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Prestatyn. There are numerous caves and mine shafts nearby. This chap was driving late at night with a girlfriend in the dark, narrow lanes up there when he had to stop as he came across what looked like a huge bundle of dirty old rags blocking the road. He got out to move it, and it suddenly moved. He ran back to the car and locked the doors, and he can't remember if he made a noise or not. It then stood up. It was really tall, about 7 feet in height, and had yellowish red eyes. Oh, good Lord above. It put its hands on the car bonnet. The car shook, then from standing, it leapt over a high hedge, and he still cannot explain what it was. I just don't know what I would do in that situation. I know I'm supposed to be really brave, but I'd probably piggy melt. Did you want to go out?
Yeah.
You just have to suffer our Roy going out. He needs a pee. Look at this one. Oh, this is a good one. You've heard me talk about the River Ouse a lot. And the Ouse is one of those rivers that kind of, it's like the A1. It just goes everywhere in the UK. So, like, you can pick it up down near the Medway, or you can pick it up in Wales. You know what I mean? There's a big, the big Ouse and the little Ouse. But it's a major tributary, and it comes out in Lincolnshire, where we worked the case on Pets Lane last week. So it's an area that pops up a lot for me, the River Ouse. And I remember this one. It was, she's a wild camper, but she also does a lot of kayaking. And she said, I shared a report with you that happened to myself and my husband when we stayed at a camp just off the Ouse. She said it last year on a trip to North Wales. We parked for the night in our van in a forestry plantation car park. I think the closest town is Llanderf. As it was starting to get dark, my husband decided to take his folding shovel on a short walk to the loo, like we do. Living in a small space, we have a wee only room. I think they live in the vans, they're like van lifers. She said once he'd finished, he had a little explore of the trails around the car park, jogging. And he said he'd gone about 100 metres or so when he became aware of something crashing through the thick undergrowth off to one side of him. And at first, he thought it was a weird trick or echo, as when he stopped, so did the noise. So he stomped heavily several times to test the sound, and he heard nothing. Yet when he started jogging back towards the van, the noise started up again. It was out of sight, but close by and keeping in perfect pace with him. He was a little bit confused and unnerved, as we're used to encountering deer, etc. But they always run away, and they never follow alongside you. I don't know how he was able to keep his cool, but he just stated that since running seemed to set it off, he decided to walk back to the van instead. So there must have been a moment there where he picked up his speed and it picked up his speed as well. Oh, Batmom answered it for me. Thank you very much. Thank you. I might only live an hour from Wales, but I'm not the best when it comes to my Welsh ancestors would absolutely hate me. She said, I was preparing dinner when he got back and he asked me jokingly if I'd brought us to another bloody dogman place again. He said, she said he's really, really sceptical. But when he had that experience, you go sit down with Dad. When he had that experience, that was the first thing that popped into his head, was like it was a werewolf or something. And she said, let me just get to it. I was tempted to go outside and try some whooping or some wood knocking to see if we'd get a response, but I chickened out. And then on the same trip, she's had to go to the loo herself. So she's, no, actually, it was a second trip. I'm telling a lie. She had a friend with her and all. And they were on the same route. And she needed the loo. So she went off in the dark. And she said, as I crouched down, I just got this overwhelming feeling of like, get out now. She said, and like, I've never really been scared before, but I couldn't get back to the tent quick enough. But I get a lot of reports from like wild campers and people who live in the vans and things like that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just dogs doing my head and I can't concentrate. So, while I'm looking, has anyone got any questions for me? Or throw me an area and I will, if I've got one, I will give you a report from that area. I'm trying to catch up this week. I've got so many on the map that I've not put over yet. So I was having a quick do of that. Working on an exciting TV project and all this week. Can't give you any of that away, bit of a secret, but it's a big one and everyone watches it and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But it has come to the stage now in the UK where people are happy to be on camera and interviewed about their Bigfoot experiences. So one of the cases that I'm working in Lincolnshire is possibly going to be featured. I can't say 100%, but we've done a decent amount of work on it. Right, Georgia's just asked me, have I got any new big cat? I've stopped taking big cat accounts now because I can't keep up with them. They're just coming in too fast and they go into the newspapers now, where 10 years ago people wouldn't do that. But now they are doing it. They're going straight to the newspapers and like bypassing me and the other big cat people. So I honestly haven't. I've worked on one this week though, but I think it was from a couple of years ago. Just one second, I'll pull it up. Yeah, it was 1991 in Cleve, the Cleve Hill Panther. I think now people know that they are here, you know, and that the police know they're here and the government know they're here and we know that it's just like this white elephant in it that we don't talk about. Every police force in the UK now has a form to fill out when people make big cat reports. If you apply under the Freedom of Information Act, you'll get 22 searches in one area if you put it in. I think that's what I got for Bolton, where I live. I mean, I live on the Pennine, so it's like this, it's mountainous and it's rocky and it's ideal. There's a lot of farms out there, a lot of sheep out there, lambing. So like at this time of year, you'll get a lot of lamb deaths, usually put down to big cats, or that you start to recognise the way they kill them and things like that. So Smokey's just asked me about County Durham. County Durham is a pretty active place, you know. People think when you say County Durham, they think of the town. It's like Manchester. But what they forget is you got the main town, and then you got like the suburbs, and then it was rural, like where me and Mark live, right on the edge of town. And then it's just greenbelt land and farms until you get to the next major town. So County Durham is a place where I've taken a number of dogman reports. Steve asked me earlier if Rendlesham and Beeston, Beamish were the same, close together, and I said no, they're opposite sides of the country. But you think they're close together because the sighting reports are just the same that come out of there. But it's the same kind of land when you look at it, right? What do you want? You want a Bigfoot report? Right, County Durham, really, really easy for me, this one. Give us a town name in Durham. I'll get me even closer because there's that many of them. You can go from Darlington all the way to the Scottish border. Then you just got report after report after report of like Bigfoot creatures, dogmen, and there's a new one. What's that new one? He was a man but also a wolf. So this is October 2021. Let me just pull this one up in my notes. Because this is one that's not made it on set map yet. Also a wolf. When did it come up? October 2021. I was working on it tonight before I come online. Should be the first one to pop up. Yeah, got him. Right, that was the one with Bella, if you remember. Bella struggles with her sight. So she struggles with her sight. So she was out one night with the dog. She'd missed her. She'd been into town and she'd missed a bus connection coming in. So she's walking with the dog, and she said something came barreling at her out of the darkness, and she thought it was someone on an electric scooter or something like that. And she said, like, stop, you're going to hit me. And it did stop. And she said what she was looking at was like this area of something that was really like hairy. She described it as a manimal. And it only happened October 2021. So it's quite recent. But it was out on the farmland down there. So, you know, not that close to Durham, but in the same area. It's on the farmland. And it's on old mining land. So there's one on the other side, about 20 minutes away in Pontyland, where a woman's walking around Pontyland Park with her dog, and she hears and senses something in the bushes at the side of her. And she said to me at first, you probably won't take it as an account because I didn't actually get my eyes on anything. And I said to her, if you're walking and you get that sudden feeling like you're being watched, then you take note of that. I take note of that. And then obviously we've got reports on that mining land within a 20-minute distance. I'd be a fool not to take the experience, because if we're saying that these creatures are flesh and blood in some way, then we should be getting reports of howls and people being shadowed. And, you know, it's not what a normal animal will do. A big cat, it's very rare that they'll shadow a human back to the car. But whatever these things are that are shadowing, go back to the car. Do you get what I mean? It shadows them all the way back to the car in the bushes. Oh, it's me clock. Can you hear it, Brian? My it's just the clock in the bedroom. Is it that loud? I don't hear it, mate. It's caught. If I'm on this device, we just pick the clock up and move it. Brian can hear it. If I'm on my laptop, it has a cartoid mic, so it just picks up my voice. It doesn't pick up from anything else. Because I'm on my iPhone, it's crap in it. I've not got my mic on, so it just picks up everything in the room. It's not time for you yet. We've not even done half an hour yet, dude. Yeah, you have to wait. It's not time. Go and lie down with Dad. No way can you hear it? Because I've had it. That clock's been up there all the time and no one's ever said anything. That's not your cup of tea. Yeah. Right. No.
Get down.
No, you don't.
Stop being silly.
There we go. Was you making this Kong ball and that lie down? Yeah. Dad's going to make you a treat. Go and get a treat off, Dad. Yeah. Mark can do his Kong ball. Dad's going to do the treat. Go and get one
ball first.
Trying to go between comments and right, well, it's gone then. If you can hear it, I'll make sure it's not here next week when I'm doing what I do. That's weird, ain't it? Because normally no one's ever mentioned it before. Right, let's get this map back up. But it's not Mark's cogs turning in his head. I can guarantee you that one. Nothing's no cogs turning in there.
Really?
I didn't know if you'd catch me saying it. But
so right behind you, woman.
That'll be me scheming, trying to come up with grifting stuff so I can. What did I get accused of this week? Stealing money off people to feed me horses.
Yeah.
I don't even own horses.
Got a dog.
Got a dog out. He's big enough to be an horse, but yeah, I've never stolen money to give to somebody else for their horses. I can absolutely guarantee. Who was that? Was that Barney Johnny Elliott, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, that was this week's What's Deborah been accused of this week show? Yeah, stealing money to pay for my horses that I don't own. And I can't ride anymore because my bleeding legs won't let me ride them. But yeah, it's tickling me. I know, Jojo. Yeah, I know. But yeah, don't worry about it. Told you, I've had to put a sign in my bushes saying I've got no vacancies for any more stalkers now. I just haven't. I can't take any more on. So like I'm having to like outsource them. So I suggested to a couple of them they went to a stalking agency because they might be able to get them some work somewhere. Because like mine are on a 24 shift, 6'2", 210, 10, 6. So you know I can't do any more for these stalkers than I'm doing. Don't ask. It's been one of those weeks. Yeah. But yeah, so has anybody in the chat ever been out walking in the woodlands and had this feeling that you're being watched or there's something behind you? Because us women pick up on it really quickly, and I'm not being a sexist, because you're told from a very early age to like keep your head on a swivel when you're a girl, you know, that's what they do. So I think I can tell you some of mine, and it happened before I saw that thing in the park, and it actually happened in that park. So I think maybe they might be connected, because one was the year before and one was about 18 months before that. So like where the park is where I seen him. So like this is the park. My school's on that side, and my school's like an old Victorian mansion. And there's like a little gatehouse that's called Chaseley. And it's right posh. There was an observatory there and everything. It was the boys' grammar school at one point, and then obviously by the time I got there in the late 70s, it had changed. It was a mixed school, but it looked like something out of Harry Potter, and they'd never changed anything inside. So even in the classrooms, you had the old-fashioned fireplaces, like the bell on to ring the servants, and the library was like the library in the house. So definitely, when you think of Harry Potter, that's kind of what my school looked like. And then you've got to imagine 1,400 inner city kids in there, all skin, because like if you were posh, you went to the posh school. Yeah, I'm not posh, I didn't get to go there. But they used to do like, we'd go camping and everything. They used to do a lot with us. They were really good like that. And I remember we all had to meet at Chaseley because we were going somewhere. I'm not really sure where we were going. Oh, it was a school disco. It was a school disco, and I was supposed to meet, I think it was Debbie Rothwell and Debbie Mealia. There were 7 Debbies in my year at school. And I'm waiting on Chaseley, so I would have been about 13 at the time. And there's nothing really there at night. Now there is. There's houses everywhere. But like back then, there was just a school. And a lot of like HMOs, like houses of multiple occupants, got big, massive mansions that the merchants used to own. And then obviously they got sold and people just bed sit in them now, like bed sit land. And I'm there, and it's a hazel edge, but it's winter, so like it's not thick and cover. All its leaves are off because it got brown dead quick hazel, and it just went. You can see through it, and there was nothing there. But as I'm walking down Chaseley, as I'm walking, something's walking in those bushes at the side of me, and as I stop, it stops. And it's all like I'm telling myself it's like it's a dog or it's like a rat or something, but it was definitely bigger than a dog or a rat, and I was getting a bit scared. But there aren't any lights on that bit of the road. You got to go down to the bottom where the park is. There used to be a set of lights because where you cross the road there on Ecclesall Road, and it followed me all the way down. It really, really freaked me out. It scared me, and I distinctly remember that feeling. And then after that, I remember being in school the next day and walking home and looking at the bushes, you know, in the daytime, because it was twilight when I went out there. But the next day, I'm thinking, there just couldn't have been anything in them. I'd have seen it. There was no foliage on it. It was just bare branches, and it's like the wall. I'm only 5'2", so the wall's probably up to about here. And then you've got like the bushes. So I'm looking up. I should have been able to see what was in there, and I couldn't. And it was just like this, just this feeling of like, hurry up, get to the lights. Just get to the lights as quickly as you can. And my heart was pounding like when I got there, and I felt a bit silly, and I didn't say anything to my friends because obviously I felt a bit silly about it. But not long after, I remember being in school, and one of the girls had said that she was walking through the park and something had like followed her in the bushes. So we're like, oh, it'd be a pervert. Because obviously I've not seen this thing yet. We're all like, oh, it'd be a pervert. Yeah, it'd be like a lap off, as we used to say. So on my lap when we were kids, like. And about 2 nights after, I'd got in trouble. So they kept me up back at class. I had to do detention. And everybody else had gone home. So like they kept us back for about half an hour. I think we'd egged each other. It was somebody's birthday or something ridiculous like that. And everybody had to go separate ways home. So I could go the long way round, or I can just go through the park because it's quicker. So I was like, I'll just go through the park because it's quicker. Now, normally when the gates open, there's hundreds of kids in there, but there's just me wandering along with my school bag. And I just got that feeling. Do you know where the dip is, Mark? What's now the car park?
Yeah.
The bit I ate with that has like the cinders.
Yeah.
Where they found the body. There. So as it comes round the corner there, I'm about to cross it and something in my head went, no. And I just stood stock still. And like, I couldn't cross and go to the dog entry. So I just backed up on myself, went round it, I knew bit finger boots and went round the other way. But whatever it was a distinct stop like that in my head. And I listened to it. Hi, James. Nellie's just asked me, do I think hitchhikers are possible? And you don't mean hitchhikers on the road, do you? Yeah, the easiest answer to that is yeah, and I'll give you some accounts for that.
Yeah, you've had a couple.
We have. Mark's just said something that I don't normally share online. That we've had a couple of things follow us back home, haven't we? Yeah.
What?
Not the nicest. You remember that day when we were in the kitchen? I was in my wheelchair at the time. And I just remember I was cooking and you nicked something out of the pan when I was cooking.
Yeah.
And I got a bit frustrated with it in my head. But I didn't say out, just in my head I just thought, "Argh." And it was like, I'm going to let him say what it was. It was...
Don't know, just
when it stomped,
stomping behind me.
Something stomped across the kitchen and come right at the back of him. And I don't know whether that was like just me throwing me energy or it was something.
That's what I mean.
I honestly
Erica
believe.
was in the room with us.
Yeah, she was there. Erica
She
was there
heard
at the time, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, she heard it.
Well, it shook, didn't it? The house
Yeah.
shook kind of thing. But yeah, that was scary. And I think something followed me back from Bempton. I'm convinced something followed me back from Bempton. It took me a lot. It took me like 2 years to shake that place. I'd never go back. I'd never go back there. Yeah. There's Mrs. Mercury. Mrs. Mercury is a Salfordian. She lives near my old school, so she knows what I'm talking about. Can you remember? I mean, I don't know if you're as old as I am. I left school in 83, I think, 1983 when I left. And I was born in that area, so I'd lived there. I didn't move up here till I was 26, 27, something like that. But yeah, she was saying that for me, when I first came forward, I thought, oh God, if anyone from Salford ever hears me, they're just going to like ridicule me. Because I had enough of that when I was a kid. I just had enough of that as a kid. But you find out afterwards, it's like when you break up with someone and then all your mates go, oh yeah, I meant to tell you he's a bit of a wrong-un, but they don't tell you at the time. When I came forward finally, and it was like in the paper and everything, and people knew, people who got in touch with me and said, oh, yeah, we remember the Gorilla Man. And like, oh yeah, they went to Old Pie and they were like, oh yeah, you never go in the park at night because there's a Gorilla Man in there. And you're like, well, why didn't you tell us beforehand? Because I'd never heard it before. But there was a few rumours, wasn't there? There was a man in the 70s that had seen him, and he actually did. That was on the golf course. And he said that he saw what he thought was a hairy man trying to chase and catch a fox. Brian's just asked me, let me find it. Do I have alloys and neons on your wheelchair? No, you're not going to believe this, right? But my very first wheelchair, do you remember it, Mark? Belonged to a boy called Ben who was 9. Because I was that little, I had to get a kid's wheelchair. And one day, it disappeared from the front of the house. And it was Mark's nephew, Asa. I took it with his mates and tied 2 fire extinguishers to it to see if they could go down the farm lane at like 90 mile an hour on my chair. I'm not kidding. Yeah, I already went outside to get my wheelchair and he'd nicked it to do a bit of like, a bit of boy stuff, whatever you do when you're a teenager. You got another funny story about my wheelchair? Me and Mark never argue. We never ever argue, do we? We just don't. We end up laughing at each other. But one day, I think he'd had enough of me. And where we used to live, everything's on that slope, right? It's just steeper than a cow's face, isn't it? Yeah. And he's walking down the lane with me like, and I was moaning my head off, and he just slammed the brake on and walked off on me. And I'm like, where are you going? And he went, I'm going to get your daughter. Your daughter can come and get you because I'm done. And you just stormed off, didn't you? And I just had to sit there like that and wait for him to calm down and come back and get me. It's true though. Yeah, no, I don't have alloys on my wheelchair. I can't use it anymore. I can't, because I can't do my hands. It's a self-propelling, isn't it? I can't use it anymore. So like, I can't use 2 sticks anymore. I can only use the one now. So yeah, I donated it to I think to Red Cross, who my mum works for. So it's like, Mum, you might as well give it out to someone. I can't even use it anymore. But yeah, I used to get going like pretty far. But the kids would get in it, Brian, and they'd be doing like wheelies and or trying to bounce down my stairs in it, and I'd be like, "That's my leg. Stop messing about in it." Our Layla was obsessed with it because I had my accident the year I had my accident 6 months later. My first grandchild was born, our Layla, and I learnt to crawl because I had to relearn, didn't I? So I learnt to crawl when Layla learnt to crawl, and then I had this speedy wheelchair and she didn't have it. So as a baby, when she was like, she used to go mad, didn't she, if I was faster than her? So I had to go everywhere with her sat on my knee, like a zoom out, to strap her in and go around on it. But yeah, not for a while. Stockholm, she's employed. My mum and my sister have worked for the Red Cross for as long as I can remember, Pearls. And even when Mum left work and retired, she's volunteered for them, ever since. And it's something that she does. So that's what she does. She gives out like wheelchairs and crutches and aids that people need in their houses that they can't afford, in like chair lifts and things like that. So yeah, I have this chair that I'm in now. If you saw a photo of it, it's got lifts on the bottom, so it's higher up, so it's easy to get in and out. And you just get used to it. You don't notice it out a bit. But they couldn't do the couch, could they? Because the couch is a funny shape. They can't do them when they're an L shape. But and I notice the difference. Believe me, I really do. But yeah, it tickled me now. Joe's saying we stole our late neighbour's electric wheelchair to go to the shops. She had a rain cover and everything. Do you know the girls mind me all the time to get one? Mum, get a whip. No, I don't want one. I just don't want one. Yeah, I don't want one. I'm not at that stage of my life where I want an electric wheelchair. I'm not there yet. Yeah. Things are getting much harder for me. I don't like talking about what I can't do. But like shopping's becoming impossible. So now I just sit in the car and Mark goes round. Because like my local food store that you go in, most food stores in the UK that you go in have an electric wheelchair, don't they? Or a means of getting you around the store, and mine doesn't. So I sit in the car now like a toddler, and Mark goes in with list. And he goes around and gets everything. And I hate it because I can't go and look at clothes, and I can't look at toiletries, and I can't look at stuff for the house. It's just like go in there and get bread, spuds and milk. So we've got a bit of an ongoing battle at the minute with them. Like, disabled people should be able to access the store in exactly the same way as able-bodied people are able. And about 2 weeks ago when I went in, he said, you have to put that, the thing they click onto your wheelchair. They're great, but I can't get round in them because of my hands. So I get the wheelchair and I have to put my basket on my knee, and Mark pushes me around. So I said to the guy, there's no baskets, but you'll go and get one of them. I said, I can't use one of them. I can't get round. He went, yeah, you can. So I was like, well, actually, no, I can't. And he went, yeah, you can go and get one. How I kept my temper, I don't know, because I wanted to say to him, do you know what I can do and what I can't do, matey? Yeah. But once again, Mark had to go around and I just had to wait for him. So, yeah, it's a bit of a pain, really, when you're disabled. It's like, I had someone say to me the other week, how do you get up Winter Hill if you're disabled? Because you can drive all the way to the top of it. I don't even get out of the car. Yeah. Climbing mountains when you got your disability. I ain't climbing no mountains. Sweetie Mark's driving me up there in the car. We haven't got our car at the minute. We're in the courtesy car. And the courtesy car won't make, it's not 4-wheel drive like ours. But we can't go up there. Oh, that's awful. Robert's put that in his town, people even steal wheelchairs and baby carriages and shopping carts and stuff like that. It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah.
If Andy's doing an all-nighter at Cannock, I would definitely go there with protection, because that place will do a number on you. And I'm being serious. And then some, yeah. Cannock is a place where I learned how stupid I was just going into experiences without putting anything in place and just thinking I was clever enough I could just go in there and it wouldn't matter. You can't deal with dark energy and it not matter. Do you know what I mean? It's always gonna be leave a smudge, like a stain. Do you get what I mean? When you deal with cases like that, there's a darkness to it that gets pretty hard to shake. But Canic was another level. Right, let me pull it up. Oh, James, thank you. That's really kind of you. Like, really, we really, really appreciate it. We do. It's getting harder and harder to run this bloody channel. The Batmum's just I'm not in a wheelchair anymore. Batmum, I don't know your first name, sweetheart. And I feel awful calling you Batmum because, like, I want to call you by your real name, but I don't know it. I had a wheelchair. I had those, what do they call them, like elbow crutches, and my disability's on one side. So anything on the right-hand side, I can't do. I'm knackered at. And unfortunately, my good side, which is my right side, I knackered my hands just by using wheelchairs and sticks and stuff like that. So I can't hold them anymore. So I'd have to get like an electric wheelchair. But the place I live in now, my old house was adapted for everything. So it was like, everything was adapted in it for me. I loved it. But we had let's be honest, we had stalkers, and we ended up homeless because of them. So I had to leave a 2-bedroom completely like set out for my needs so that I could cook in the kitchen. I could get out into the garden really easily because everything was on one level. Downstairs loo. I could not see to myself, but I wasn't such a burden on Mark. But here, because we had to leave and you have to take whatever you can get, you only get one offer. And if you knock that offer back, then you're on your own. And at the point we were sleeping in a bleeding car to keep ourselves safe. And the main priority was getting Jodie and the kids safe. So once we got them in a home and they were safe, then it was, we're going to have to go into this flat and it's not adapted for Debbie. What we're going to do. So I said to him, we're going to find a way. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be honest with you, the day we got the keys, it looked like a stable. I cleaned cleaner stables. Yeah, and I'm not kidding. It was like an animal harder who had it before us, and there was dog shit up the walls, like thick in the bedroom. We had to scrape it. But my oldest daughter got a box of washing powder and put it all over the bedroom floor and hit it with a shovel to get it all out there, just so we had somewhere clean to sleep for the night. So the last like 12 months, we've only been in about 14 months we've been in. It's just making things accessible for me. So it's hard to get out because it's step after step. Do you know what I mean? So we're learning. It's a new experience and we're learning as we go. So like I used to have a proper office and like a studio and all of that, and now I have this corner in the living room. But sometimes that's what life's like, innit? Do you know what I mean? I'm far happier than I ever was. And for all that house was like adapted, I was still trapped in it. I was definitely trapped in it. So if nobody was there, I couldn't get out to the shops. I can't do that here, don't get me wrong, but it was just so far down the hill. There was just nothing I could do. So like here, it's not so bad. I can get out the front door and I can access the garden and things. So you just make it work, don't you? You adapt and swivel and just make it work. But somebody asked me the other day, what was the most thing I missed once I became disabled? I was a single mum with 2 kids. I used to walk 5 miles to work as a cook, walk 5 mile home, get the kids, come home, sort my house out, go boxing at the night or tie bow or something. I missed that. I missed the independence of just being able to go out the front door myself, or just say to him, right, I'm just going to go shopping. I want a pair of shoes. Or I give you some bad instances. I've been in shops when you're in a wheelchair, people don't see you. You're completely invisible. So like Jodie had tapped me, eldest had tapped me in a shop, and because I'd want shoes or something. And don't get me wrong, but at the time I was in Cass, so I'd only ever buy like a left shoe anyway. Yeah, but so I was like, I'm not paying 30 quid for one I'm going to throw out. So, do you know what I mean? That's how you get kind of thing. And she wheels me into this shop, and the woman looked right over the top of my head and said to her in this voice, "What's her favourite colour?" And Jodie went, "What's your favourite colour, ma'am?" And I went, I heard blue. And she was like, "Does she like red?" And I went, "I am here, you know. I'm literally sat here in the chair." So, like, it puts you off doing stuff like that. You just think, no, I'm not doing it. So you just look over the top of you like you're a pain in the bleeding ass, don't I? But, yeah, I do miss that. I miss all of that, I got to be honest. And I miss just being able to go to the farm and just jump on an horse and go. I reckon I could still get on, but I couldn't control him. I couldn't, you know what I mean? If something scared him, I wouldn't be able to hold him back or anything. I've got no... I learned to ride an horse without a saddle, so I'm used to riding bareback. So I had to really learn how to use a saddle in my 40s because I wasn't used to having a saddle. And now I wouldn't be able to grip. I wouldn't be able to hold on to him and grip. So it would be a dangerous situation for me and anyone else that I was out with. But I miss it. I miss that more than anything. Riding in the snow, riding in the fog. It's silent up there on the moor when it's foggy. You can't hear anything. Like, talk about a silence in the woods. It's just silent. And you understand why people talk about the werewolf, you know, on the moors, on the Yorkshire moors. But being up there on a horse, it's like going back in time, and it's just amazing. I miss it. That's the one thing. If I had all the money in the world and I could do anything I wanted, I'd be like, fix me legs so I can ride again. Like, fix me legs so that I can get on an horse and I can ride again. And I'm sure there's fancy saddles I could buy and all of that, like the pie in the skies. They can't even afford a saddle stand. Yeah, but you get what I mean. Yeah. What subjects? There's me moaning about me bleeding house. There's a lot worse people out there. And if I don't know what I like Andy. I don't want him to go to kind of just the stories I could tell you from people who reports I've taken from kind of Chase. Talk about feelings of being watched. I mean, we started this on Nellie's question about hitchhikers. I don't know if Glassy Gleam is still in the chat, but we've talked a lot, me and him, over the years about hitchhikers. And you probably noticed it listening to podcasts and things out there. There are people who get really into the subject and they soak up everything, and then they'll go out and they have kind of like an experience where they get this feeling of dread, or they feel like something's watching them, or they actually have a sighting, and they go home and things start happening around the home. You know, that's what I would call a hitchhiker effect. So Barry's saying, that's like me. That's how much I miss fishing trawlers. I never understood my granddad's obsession with the sea. Yeah, because he was any time he could get you out there on a boat. Right. And I used to think, he's a merchant sailor. Does he not get fed up with being on the sea? You know, kind of thing. But when you think about it, it becomes your life, doesn't it? So it's like a farmer who can't farm anymore, or a painter who can no longer paint. Oh. And I'm a writer. Spent my entire life writing. So as a kid, when things were bad, I'd sit and I'd write in my journal. And it's how I process stuff. So if anything happens in my life, I sit down and I journal it, and it's my process. It's getting harder and harder to do now. I can't write with these bloody hands anymore. So it's like voice apps and everything. It's not the same process. It's not as exciting. But I have a pretty positive attitude where you just got, this is what you've got now, and this is what you've got going forward. So just like grab it and do what you can with it. So Nellie's saying she means a paranormal hitchhiker. And what would you do to get rid of it? There's many names for them, isn't there? Some people call them attachments. Some people call them entities. Some people call them negative beings. So we'll just, for now, we'll just use the name. We'll just call it a negative being. Right. The only thing that I have found that get two things that can stop it and change it around is, number one is willpower. And I know that sounds really simple, and it is not. But if something's attached to you and you're frightened of it, it'll work you day and night, like till you're the weakest version of yourself, like a bully would or a bad partner would. And if you can get that person to understand that, if they could just, I don't know, there's no magic wand, I think, Nellie, is the answer. There isn't. It's unique to each case. And I can only talk about the cases I've been in. A lot of the people when I've worked with them, once we've built the confidence up and listened to them really and accepted that what they're telling you is real, that can make a massive difference. And explaining that it is fear, it's fear driven, it's a fear driven trauma. And if you can face it in a way, any way that you can overcome it. But the second half of that is you need belief. You need belief in something. So whether that's like the church, a spiritual belief, like a belief of self. So like for me, I've had no religious upbringing. I don't understand church in the same way I don't understand how you grow a banana. It's just foreign to me. But I understand willpower and boundaries. So for me, it probably took 2.5 years. 2.5 years to shake the can at one. When you think about it time-wise, probably about 2.5 years. So I suffered for 2.5 years. Not telling anyone anything, seeing these things at the side of my bed at night and stuff, and like faces there as I'm opening my eyes and waking up. And when I was frightened of him, it happened all the time. And I don't know why. Just one night I'd had enough. I think I was just sleep deprived. It was worse than living with my ex-partner. That's the only way I can put it. And that was the worst experience of my life. And it was draining me. And like every night I was dreading going to sleep because this thing was going to come in, and I just lost my temper. I lost my temper, and I said to it, "You come near me again and I will rip your fucking soul out of your body." And it stopped, didn't it? For a long time. It stopped. And then I realised I wasn't scared at it. I was mad at it now. Like, how dare you keep doing this to me? You've no right to do this. And in that relationship, I suffered for like 8 years. And then at the 8-year point, I thought, no, you're not hitting me again. And that's when I went back boxing. And every time he raised his hand to me, I used to give him a good hiding. And like, you learn to fight back somehow. But it's not as easy as just saying that. You need a support network around you. You need other people that you can throw ideas off, or people that have been it. And that's why I set up the WhatsApp group for the ladies. And I've tried setting one up for the men, and I can't pin them down into one place. It's very different. But the ladies seem to work the gel. You put them all in one group together, and they might not all have the same experiences, but they've all experienced something that's strange, and they've struggled with it, and they've had to learn how to turn it off and turn it on and things like that. So like Chrissy, who lives at Pets Lane, she's had experiences her entire life. And for the last 23 years in that house, she felt like she's been going crazy because she's seeing things, and the boys are experiencing things, and all of that's going on. And you've got these CCTV captures. And she's clearly not crazy. There's just absolutely nothing wrong with her whatsoever. But society tells you that you're crazy, and you're not supposed to accept that this stuff's going on around you. So how do I make it stop for Chrissy? Well, I can't make it stop for Chrissy. Chrissy can make it stop for Chrissy. So you put the tools in her hands. So it's like me saying, right, Chrissy, you are picking up on these things and you are experiencing. So what do we do? Because she's never run scared. Don't get me wrong. She's not running scared, but she's a woman. She's intelligent. She's got children. And like she said, is it the moment the status quo? I'm happy with it. But if it takes a down note and it got near the children, then she would instantly like put some boundaries in force. So I don't have to work with Chrissy on confidence. I just have to work with Chrissy on not, when she gets a feeling, to accept it, not to speak it away. You know what I mean? Not like you do in your head. You think like, should I do that? And you think, oh, better not. And if you've had that thought, do it. So, but I've worked with people as well, Nelly, where that dark attachment is on them 24/7. They lose a relationship, they lose their jobs, they lose their family, they lose their friends, and they end up incredibly lonely, but they don't want to change. And you can show them a way out, and it's not what they want. They want that negative attachment. They feel stronger with it. They feel empowered by it. Well, there's not a person in the world who can help them with that, because they don't want to change, do they? So I said 2 things, didn't I? I should say 3. 1, you've really got to want the situation to stop. And 2, you've got to either be it by yourself or with a network of people or whatever, realise that this thing's preying on you. And you are stronger than it as a person. You know, it wouldn't have picked on you if you were just an ordinary person. It wouldn't be coming trying to feed off you, would it? There's something about you that it likes your energy. But I don't know why they do that. So like the case we're working now, it's just come in. So it's a lady who's living on a family farm on the Surrey border. She saw something 18 years ago. She was walking the dog. She went round the corner. She saw something down on 4 legs that stood up onto 2, looked like a wolf. Or, you know, like a wolf man. And she said it was a startle to see her as she was of it. When Fred saw it at the window, he said it looked surprised. So these are not cases of hitchhikers, but these creatures are still around 18 years later. So at the moment, he's on the property, and now he's on the roof. So where do we stop it? You know, where do we say, right, this is getting a bit close? Well, I can't tell anyone to do what to do on their land, can I? She's a clever lady. She's got cameras in there. She's got GoPro set up. We get a lot of lights on the situation, and we make a lot of noise if it starts coming towards the house. It's like pissing on your boundary walls. You have to set clear boundaries. So like going into an investigation of the paranormal, I never used to set any boundaries. I used to go in, kick ass, come out, and then wonder why I was ill for a month, and wonder why everything went wrong around me, and all this. And I'm in a negative crowd at the time, don't get me wrong. So I've got this negative crowd telling me how useless I am. And all of that can affect you, and you end up with what we call the hitchhiker. So you can be a human hitchhiker, an entity of some kind. I haven't even touched on ETs yet. And what I call the things that you can't see. So some people call them electronic magnetic entities or something. I don't know any of that. I don't understand any of that. Shadow beings that grow on negative energy. So they can be in an area, they can be attached to a person, they can be attached to an object, or an act. So if something's happened in the home and it's caused negativity, and then over the years you've got lots of frightening hauntings go on, and you start believing that it's demonic, or you get a team in and a team tell you it's demonic, then it usually goes very dark very quickly. And that's like a beacon for negative energy. So it will come, like attracts light, doesn't it? So that's what it does. And the hardest thing for me is if someone's out on a dog walk and they have an experience like that, is trying to work out what it is they're having an experience with. She's like, because I'm not with them, I can't see, can I? And I don't want to guess. So the most honest thing I can do is just say to them, right, tell me what happened that day when you're out. And has anything happened since? You experienced anything around the home? Because it doesn't happen to people. But you can't go into this subject and be naive. You can't sit and listen to paranormal podcasts and Dogman podcasts and Bigfoot podcasts all of the time without something happening, because you're putting that intention out there. It's out there, isn't it, in the ether? So that's what you're thinking about. So you'd be amazed how many people say, like, I never had an interest in the subject. I didn't have an interest. I didn't know anything about Dogman. I didn't know anything about Bigfoot. And this has happened to me. And I don't know how to deal with it. And I'm in a quandary then. I think, do I tell them about all the podcasts and stuff? Will that make it worse for him? Or will it make it better for him? So what I tend to do is say, well, I can put you in touch with another person who's been through what you're in, and I'm hoping, by hope, that naturally they'll end up where it is that they need to be, because I'm a great believer in that. But yeah, it's all about oh god, yeah. So Mercury's asked, do I believe in family curses? Yes, I do. And I believe some families are paranormal. I'm trying to think of a case where I can give you an example of it without giving somebody's private information away. Let me just put this down. Can you drop this off me down? I'm just going to have to move a minute. My legs are starting. And if I don't stand up, I'll have to come off. I won't be just 1 minute. Mind a minute, Rod. Mind. I just need to bend over for 1 minute. Oh. That's a good boy.
Get down.
Oh, I'm getting.
Get down.
See, it's an hard one. You throw me an hard question because I can't give too much away. James has said it there, like psychic vampires, yeah, almost like a sample. You're gonna have to just take it off me. I can't get it back on me then. Yeah, I do. I think some families can just follow down like.
Oh, no.
It's all right. I'm okay, sweetheart. I'm all right. I just can't sit down at the minute.
No, you can't
just
get
it
up.
out of the way. And then...
You can't get up.
Yeah.
No.
You like being on telly, doesn't it? Yeah.
Come on.
No, mate. I'll be 5 minutes. I promise. My dog's getting in touch, Right. I'm gonna give you There's a case in Ireland that I worked, and I can't give too much of it away, but I can tell you where it is. It's on. It's in what we would class as like Devon, Cornwall equivalent of Ireland, so like your southwest coast down there. And this is a family that have just had consistent poltergeist activity at the home. But the home's probably built in the 16th century. So working that case, I was trying to work out if it was the house itself that was giving all the activity. It was just one member of the family or several members of the family. So one of the things I always ask them is, have you got any stories in your family that grandma experienced something or grandfather experienced something? And it all went back to this case where I think it was when the bailiffs came in. And now I don't know what time in century that was. And that's awful, I know, because I'm from Irish descent. But at the time when the English were turfing everybody out of the things, there was a murder. And I can't go into it any more than that. And this man was murdered, who was a bailiff, and he was buried on their land, and it was never spoken about. And they'd had like consistent bad luck through the generation. How they kept the farm going, I have no idea, because they were penniless at the point where I'd met them. And I said to them, there's nothing I can do. I can't write anything down and make it stop for you. There's nothing I can do. You've got to go back to that area. You've got to make peace with that land. And you've got to I think they sold the farm in the end, you know, and left, from what I can remember. But I can't give too much away because, like, it's all tied to a family name and something that happened in Ireland around that time. And it carried they felt like it carried a family curse. But doing DNA studies now is something I started doing with people. So if it's, say you come forward and you've got this case and you've got all this activity happening around you, and I say to you, like, did anything happen? And you say, well, actually, yeah, mum did, and mum's mum did, and mum's mum did. And then it's like, right, that tells me there's a genetic family line thing going on here now. So there's something going on down that family line where each of the women are picking up on things, or each of the men are picking up on things. What if, as human beings, we are working with energy every day and we don't even realise it? So we just don't realise it at all. So we're picking up these things, and are we tying it to that family curse? Is it like, if I say to you now, right, you're cursed, and when your pen breaks, you think, oh shit, the curse has started working. If you believe in that curse, it strengthens it. It makes it stronger. So you've got, as each child is born, and you say to them, right, you're born with this stain on you, and things are going to go bad throughout your life, and it's because of our family name, and it's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, and changing your name's not going to make any difference. We've had that conversation before. So, like, speak to people who say, but I might be of Irish descent, but that was 5 generations ago, and I live in America. And you're like, but yeah, but you can't change your bloodline. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. I live in England. I was brought up in England, but I'm Irish and Welsh. You don't. That's got nothing to do with your ancestry line where you're born. You know, it's just there was no work in Ireland, and they were killing us, and my family had to come over here with lots of other families to sustain and stay alive, in all honesty. Incredibly confusing for me growing up as a teenager because of the troubles. And if you're an American, you might not understand that. But growing up in my generation, the troubles in Ireland, we were being bombed. So my town was being bombed, and people in Ireland were being bombed. And it's a war that's gone on for the longest time. And I had relatives on all sides of that. To like South Ireland, Northern Ireland, in England. It's kind of confusing. It's confusing. You don't know where you belong. And then obviously, because my one set of parents was Protestant, the other set were Catholic, it's just not on. You're not allowed to do that. Like, people were getting tired and feathered for that. So like, religion just wasn't a thing in my family, and it weren't talked about, and you weren't allowed to talk about your past and things like that. So I've only been able to find out about my paranormal lines from, I waited till Dad passed. I had to wait till my dad passed. And I waited till my dad passed away, and then I did it, and I did my DNA test because I wanted to know where I was from and stuff like that. And then I met family members that I didn't know that had the same experiences as me growing up. And some of them didn't have the same experiences as me, but they'd had a lifetime of like paranormal events. And you're thinking, well, that's clearly in the family then, isn't it? It's like, if it goes back these generations and the grandkids are having it, it's in the family. Is that a genetic curse all on its own? Because honestly, seeing things that other people don't see is not a gift. It's not what people think it's going to be like. I'm just having a read while I'm scrolling that. What's Joe talking about? All right, Susie Pie. Right, I'll put that there. Come on, you want to see Jojo? You get over for a minute. I think it's that time when Roy's telling me, right, Mum, is it time for bed? Is that what it is? Is it time for bed? Yeah, it's time for bed. That's what he's after. Yeah, so I'm going to put my... Before, when we were on the premiere and you were all talking about sweets, I'm no good with sugar, mate. I'm sweet addicted. My mum used to say, because she never got any sweets during the war, like that when she was an adult, she used to buy sweets, and like we'd stay in and get like pop and crisp and sweets and everything. And I thought, I'm going to get Mark to drive me to the garage and get me some sweets before I go to bed. But no, I'll be good. I'm just going to put my jammies on and get in bed. So what have I got on this week? I am talking to Daisy, the lady you were speaking about, who's got activity on her family farm. And she said I can interview her. So I'm going to arrange to sit down with her at the beginning of the week and get that done. Still got the poltergeist case that I've got to get down on paper for you so I can share it with you. A little bit of TV work on this week. But I'll definitely be back next Saturday. And I'll be back with a live as well. People seem to be enjoying the Saturday lives, don't they? So for anyone who's new that's tuned in tonight, thank you so much for tuning in. And for like Batman and Joe and Mike and Kiz and the gang, I can't believe you tune in every week. I'm always astounded when you're here. You're brilliant. And my admins, I have to say, I have the best admins on YouTube. I'm clearly biased. But yeah, as my dog is now getting his jammers and everything ready and he wants to go to bed, I can put my noisy clockwork up now. I wonder if he's just got extra noise or I've had my phone in the wrong place. I don't know. Can you hear him? Right. So I'm going to get going before my dog chews through Mark's trainer. And I'll see you all next week. Good night, everyone.
Stop dropping it on the telly.